Well, first of all, thank you so much for making time. I know it is short notice, but given the situation and the scenario people are in, I thought we cannot have it pending or behind, and we
Mhm.
needed to act now. So that's just,
Absolutely.
how in the moment I thought of it. If I'm going to start and this is the right time to give back to the community,
Mm-hmm.
why not just start it right now?
Why not now? Yep.
I guess
Yeah.
visioning is working for me.
I know, eh? Yeah.
I am spirited and on track.
Oh, of course.
Oh,
Yeah. We
you,
have to. We have to, because I'm telling you, I have I've just been, first of all, I didn't even realize that um there I have so much time. But now that what's happening is happening,
mhm,
I'm putting things in perspective. And I said, you know what? There is so much time we have to do great things
yeah,
rather than just be in a hurry, a rush, and everything is rush. And I said, this COVID-19 to some degree is a blessing in disguise for some of us.
yes, so for some
It's
of us,
unfortunate for those who have lost their loved ones,
yeah,
but it really allows us to put things in perspective
mhm,
and decide what's important,
absolutely,
and and reach out to people just like you're doing, reaching
mhm,
out to people,
mhm.
and things like that. So yeah.
So okay, let's
Hmm.
get started with
Yeah.
our interview. And
Hmm.
um, first of all, thank you, Lizzie, for making time. You are so phenomenally busy. I know your timelines are clogged up for 6 months, and for you to say yes to this with me, I wasn't surprised when you said this, when
Well,
you
I was going to
agreed
tell you
to
that
it.
I can't say no to you, right?
Not just that, because I know your heart is in the community and you work tirelessly. You have so many initiatives that are going on parallelly with your work. So I'm very, very thankful. So you are a
Right.
member of the Forbes Coaches Council, you're
Yes.
executive coach,
Career coach. Hmm.
and you write and provide guidance to
Hmm.
executives. How how do you make time for all of this? Where do you find the
Well,
things?
you have to put things in perspective, and you have to compartmentalize things. So even though I am not the most organized person, I do have time slots that I build into my work where things have to be done. So if I'm going to write, I I have carved out some time for writing. If I'm going to be coaching a client, obviously I have to carve time out for that as well. And so being organized
Mhm.
is one thing. And I can also say that the good thing is that I do have a supportive family. I have a very supportive husband, and my son, daughter, and my grandson, very supportive. So once they see the office door is closed, they know that I mean business. Once I holler out to them and said I'm going to be on a client call, they know. So things have to be organized, particularly when you do have a home office. The
Mhm.
cat will be walking around, and she will jump in my lap at inopportune times. So I do have to organize my time,
Mhm.
and in order for me to do that, what I do. But if we could just think in terms of what's happening right now, and that has really, really touched me in a way, to say we could have all the money in the world. Right now, we can't go anywhere.
Mhm.
The only thing we can do, or some of the things we can do, is to reach out to people. Reach out to people who are hurting. Do whatever we can just to remind them, or to let them feel that they are not alone. And that's one of the things that I'm doing right now in my community, really reaching out to people, just to make sure they're okay. And as I mentioned to you earlier, tomorrow I'm hosting a free event, a free call for people who might be laid off, for people who might be having job search concerns run about now. And then I've gotten some career experts to join me on that call so we can all share our knowledge.
That's
and
so
and
wonderful.
help people. Yeah.
So tell me, how has the present scenario impacted you in terms of how are you feeling personally or with the family? Has your routine or any of the other things changed?
Not a lot has changed for me because I've worked from home for the past 16 years or so. So that hasn't changed. My husband, on the flip side, he's part of the essential services. So he has been working nonstop.
Yeah, that's true for mine as well.
Yes. The other day I said to him, we could probably move your room to your workplace because, we're hardly seeing you.
Mm-hmm.
But it has made us, as I said at the outset, I have become so much more cognizant of what's important.
Mm-hmm.
So as a family, we usually have game nights when we just play games. We hadn't done that in months. And last Sunday, all of us were there playing dominoes and having a great time. And we realized, wow, we are home, we're together, we're playing games and having a good time.
That in itself is a blessing.
Yes, and it is. It is. At the same time, after, we're done, I started thinking, and I said, there are so many people who don't have that. And that kind of forced me to speak to actually call someone who I know had lost his wife a few years ago and was alone.
Oh my goodness.
Probably in my business, I probably wouldn't even have thought about that. So I would say this coronavirus pandemic has really allowed me as a person to start putting things in perspective and see what's important.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I completely hear you. Mm-hmm. So speaking of that, mm-hmm. have you had any instances of people who have gone above and beyond that you would want to give a shout out to, or any acts of kindness that you have observed, which is bringing the human or the humanitarian side of people to the forefront?
You know what? I have seen so many people on social media who are reaching out. I read the other day of some restaurants here in Brampton that are offering free food. There are mm-hmm. people who are offering to pick up groceries for the elderly. Mm-hmm. There are people within my own community who are picking up food items at the supermarket mm-hmm. to give to the homeless or to the shelters, that are really needing, such items. So humanity on a whole, what's happening now has changed the way we think, the way we feel about others. And I think I think we're showing more empathy and compassion to our fellow human being. And that's a good thing. And if it's one thing that's going to come out of this, is that we have learned to show more empathy and compassion. And I hope it continues.
Well, I hope that too, yes.
Yeah,
that's so
because,
true.
When we're in this space, we feel we're doing so much good. But then tomorrow, we might end up going back to the old ways, and I hope we don't, because we've really realized that there is so much commonality that mm-hmm. we have mm-hmm. that we have so much more in common than what divides us. And I think we should, as human beings, we should capitalize on that. Honestly. That's
just so true. That's just so true.
We should put aside all these all these nonsense, put it that way, or all these ways of treating people as if they're less than, or putting ourselves higher than because we are not. We cry the same way. We laugh the same way. We hurt the same way.
That's just so true.
Yeah.
Everybody is the same at the end of the day. It's all about coming together, making sure that it's an inclusive place, making sure that we are treating people right, just like we would want to be treated ourselves.
Absolutely.
As long as we can remember that.
Exactly. And that's a good point, because I always say that if we treat people like we would like to be treated, what a world we would have.
Oh, that's just the ideal. State.
And now is the time to really think about that. Because you know what? We could have, like I said earlier, we could have all the money in the world. We can't travel. We can't go to the restaurants. We can't go to the movies unless we watch movies at home. So what do we have? We have what money cannot buy. And that's what we should be sharing right now.
And the beauty of relationships, look at what can happen if you maintain those relationships. And that brings us on to our kind of the conversation. What are some tips that you can share for people to stay focused? Because I'm getting a lot of questions around, okay, there's just been so many layoffs and it's a hopeless situation, and what's happening with the employment scenario. I know it would be very, very valuable to hear from you what people can do in the meantime.
You know what? It's this time again, and you'll hear me repeating this in this interview time and again. This time has given all of us opportunities for us to grow. There are opportunities for us to learn. So yes, some people might be hurting right now because they may have been laid off. But guess what? The government has provided, or the government is providing some type of a support. Earlier, we wouldn't have had that. So that's a blessing. That's something that we should be grateful for.
Absolutely. And it gives us the buffer for us to kind of navigate this time, which is true for Canada, which might not be true for a lot of other parts of the world.
That's right.
So that's another reason to be grateful for where we are living today.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. We have to be grateful for this place we call Canada. No kidding. So if I use my own, what I'm doing now as an example, so one, gratitude is number one. Number two, I have been spending more time journaling. As you know, I have with the Let's Grow project that I'm on, I am still committed to writing, to developing a book. And what a great time to do this now with all that's happening. Now, we're able to include our stories or wrap our stories into what's happening right now. So I'm journaling a lot more than I would normally. I've been doing some other stuff, like I had a blog talk radio show, for example. I decided to look back on it. And you know what? Now I decide I'm going to start or bring that into a new podcast. For the job seekers perspective, or those who are in career transition, again, it's a good time to assess your skills. What is it that I'm good at? Or what are the skills that are out there now? Do I need to upskill? Or do I need to reskill? Am I too comfortable where I am? Or should I be exploring what could be out there? It's not a time to sit as business as usual. Opportunities are there. And we should be capitalizing on that. It's a good time to again reflect on what is it that I have done, what have been my accomplishments. Because sometimes in the busyness of life, we never stop to think of what we're doing. Oh, we do this every day. It's no big deal. No, it's not.
And
you have accomplished. Yes.
you have, I'm sorry, but I want to highlight this. As professionals, because we do things on a day-to-day basis, we don't even realize how important or valid those skills might be to an employer.
Absolutely.
We normalize it. We treat it as something which is ordinary, whereas it's not.
It's
Where
not.
it might be a skill set that is in high demand. And to your point, if you are able to identify and either use it in your favor or improve upon it, to refine it to a level where it can become an asset, then definitely that makes sense.
Absolutely. Like I said, because we do these things day in and day out, they become second nature, and we never stop to think or to wonder, what difference am I making? What value am I adding to this space? What value am I adding to the employer? And now is a good time to do that. And then once we have done that, we also need to learn, how do we articulate that? How do we articulate that to a potential employer?
That's so valid. That's so important as a point. What about the state of mind? What would you say about that? Because again, I'm hearing a lot of people who are feeling anxious and are feeling are getting caught up, becoming antsy, becoming there's that I don't want to use the word hopeless. There's that feeling of not having a purpose setting in. What do you say to that?
The thing is that what's happening now, it has really upended our normal way of life. Like, we were not expecting it. So it's a big shock.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, so behaving, and it's going to affect people differently. Somebody who is running a small business, for example, a solopreneur, who might be the only breadwinner in that family, he or she is depending on the financial situation, he or she is feeling a lot of anxiety right now. And so what do you do? Or what do they do? Again, we have to be grateful that the government is now offering a program where even solopreneurs, entrepreneurs can take advantage of. That has never happened before. So that's a good thing. So again, there are two ways to look at it. We can sit here and be hopeless forever and, oh, poor me, have this pity party that goes on for a long time. Or be realistic. Yes, it's happening, but what can I do? Who can I reach out to that might be able to help me? And of course, those of us who are spiritual, we have to turn to that in terms of whether you pray, whether you meditate, whatever it is that you do. That's, for me personally, that's the core of it. That's where I have to go, reach inside, knowing that this too will pass. It's going to pass.
It's going to pass.
So, yes, what can we do in the meantime to help us through this journey or through this transition? So my advice is to, as I said earlier, stay calm and carry on. If things become, and that's where relationships become so important. When things are happening, when things get tough, reach out to your network. Reach out to the few people that you trust and talk about it. Tell them exactly what's happening. And for us who they're telling, our role is just to listen. Because sometimes that's all they need. They don't need advice. In that quietude, in that time when you're listening, ideas might be coming, to them in terms of what they can do.
That's just so valid. I completely agree with what you're saying. This is the time when when they can up their networking game, people can be professionally reached out to, connections can be built, time can be spent on some research around who would be the potential contacts that can help them in the future. So starting that engagement might be a good idea. You're so right on that.
It's definitely a good idea, but what we can do as well, or what they can do as well, is rather than reaching out to see what the person can do for them, flip it around. Develop some kind of a reciprocal mentoring. Hi, this is who I am. Here, how can I help you? And you can say that to anybody, whether it's a CEO or whether it could be a CEO who would like to learn how to use Excel, for example. I'm just using that as an example. And if you're good with that skill, no harm in reaching out to that person and say, you know what, I could do this for you. Or obviously you would have had to do some research to find out how you can help them. But it's always, they have this saying, it's better to give than to receive. And it's true. Don't just reach out. I mean, I've had people on LinkedIn in particular who will reach out to me, and within their invitation, they're either selling me something that I don't want, or they're asking me to help them find a job when I don't know them. It's better to say, how can I help? Or if you can't say that, just say, would you mind connecting with me? I have read your profile. I realize you did this, that, and that, and I would be happy to be a part of your network. That's it. One just never knows. But then when you start begging,
I cannot thank you enough for saying that, because that's one of my biggest concerns and issues with when people are reaching out, specifically on LinkedIn. That happens. They will not put in a message, first of all. They'll just send you a request without customizing, tailoring it. Then, if at all, the first thing once you accept is either there's an attached resume and them asking you for a job, or they are selling something to you. They miss the boat completely on building a relationship. Getting to know whether you are available for a certain either it's advice or assignment, and that comes across rude, first of all, and second of all, it is sense of entitlement.
Exactly.
At least take the time to find out if this person takes on that job before you start
asking for favors.
And
exactly.
And it's baffling to me, because I have a 9-to-5 job. I have my other scheduled appointments, and I have a family, and I have a certain life that I need to look after. How can you just send a message and expect that this person is supposed to respond to you with a resume review and find you a job? Who does that? Put in a little more thought, maybe, to what needs to happen, what the process needs to look like.
But I think it's an opportunity for us to educate people like those, because honestly, I don't think they know the protocol. I don't think they know the etiquette. So it gives us an opportunity to educate them about how this works. What's the etiquette around social media and how you approach people, and the do's and don'ts. Pretty much, because I don't think if they knew, they would have done it. And you and I see that so often, and I have had times when I literally say that to people who are trying to connect, say it in a nice professional way, and some have come back and said, I did not even know that. They
Well,
just figure when they hear connect, get as many connections. It's just,
yeah,
just, yeah.
yeah, do it. Just,
Yes,
click,
just do
click.
it. Things are
We
going to
call
work
them
out. Yeah,
clickers.
exactly. But they don't realize they have to, the same way you have to build relationship, face-to-face relationships, is the same way you have to do that online. And I advise people, clients and job seekers, to go online, identify people they want to connect with, and just observe, see what they're discussing, see what they're involved with. And if it's an article they've written, make a comment, and not a comment and say, oh, very nice article, but pinpoint something there that spoke to you and why you found it interesting, and then just follow that person. Eventually they get to know you online, so later on you can reach out to say, hi 𝙤𝙘𝙀, I have been following your writings and I really enjoy this, and would you have 15 minutes to spare to really talk to me about what you have done, your work experience, your experiences generally, and so on. That would be a warm invitation or a warm call, and you would feel much better than somebody just out of the blue who you don't know just shoot you a message and said, well, can you look at my resume? I'm looking for a job. And you can't help such a person because you don't know who they are. You don't know what their value system is. You don't know if they are who they say they are, those kind of things. So you could be putting your reputation on the line if you go ahead and say, okay, hire this person when you don't know that.
Absolutely. I'm so glad that you went through the whole process and explained how a person can actually achieve a targeted, a curated message, and that would definitely get them the right responses from whoever they're trying to connect with.
I think my phrase for what's happening now is to stay safe, stay calm, and carry on. When the train operator, when the train is going through that tunnel, we're not going to jump off in the dark. We just have to sit it through, because there's light at the end of that tunnel. And regardless of what's happening, this too will pass. I hope that we all would have learned something from this and take it with us. I don't think life is going to be the same. We're accustomed to hugging and shaking hands, and I think that's going to change. But it shouldn't change our hearts.
Wow, that's so beautiful.
Yeah, we should learn or continue to or build upon, appreciating each other for who we are as individuals. We have to be careful of all the advice that we're getting from the different sources. So make sure that we're paying attention to what the Public Health Office, the Canadian Public Health Office, is saying, what our local health organizations are saying, rather than believing everything that we get on WhatsApp and internet and all of that, because some of these things can be dangerous. So just pay attention to, in terms of things that we should be doing, pay attention to what our government agencies, the information that they're sending out, and we should be safe from it.
Thank you. That's wonderful advice. Thank you so much, Daisy. That was such a wonderful chat with you. I'm sure whoever engages with this clip, they will have a lot to learn.
Please make sure to like and subscribe and ring the notification bell to keep updated with all our videos. Thank you.